Yay! Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to Chattering with Nicholas Vince. In a few moments, I'm going to be chatting with Julien and Bertrand about the fundraiser for their new short film, Zigote. But I'll let them explain all about that in a few minutes. But before I do, again, I just want to thank out three lots of thanks. Thanks to everyone who's subscribed on YouTube. I really do appreciate that. That's great. We're over 700, as I said, so we're creeping up towards 750. That would be cool. Then thank you to everyone who subscribed or liked the Chattering with Nicholas Vince page on Facebook. I've had a Chattering with Nicholas Vince group for a couple of years now, but I'm now moving over to a page because it's much easier to share. And if I can get it right, you, as well as being able to watch on YouTube, you will be able to watch on Facebook, but we need to do some testing to make sure that's all right. So that's the plan. That's coming up. And thank you to everybody who bought the Hellbound photo. I had 7 to go, and they went in 5 hours, which is pretty extraordinary. So those have all gone off in the post, so those should be arriving with people next week. So the next special item that will be offered on my shop next month, can't remember the date, it's in May, possibly the 11th, I don't know, it's on the website, if you check the website, and that's going to be 5 copies of this, which is published in 2006. It's the first time I published a couple of my short stories on 90-gram Concra vellum paper rendered. That's those. I'll tell you more about that closer to the time. But there are going to be just 5 of those available. And again, just head to the website for those. I do that usual thing of doing all my things on one breath. So let me just unclick that. And let me introduce you to Julien and Bertrand. Actually, I'll get you to introduce yourselves, gentlemen, so that people know who you are, because you're sitting next to each other. So please introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Nicholas, and thank you for having us in your live show. I'm Bertrand. I'm an actor in Belgium, and I'm part of this project, Zigote. We're doing a short movie about cosmic goats, mutant goats,
and so I'm Julien. I've made one short film before that I think you saw it at FrightFest, which was An Eldritch Place. And I was brought a little bit later on the Zigote project, but I'm here to co-direct the short film.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so indeed, you, Julien, and I think, did I not meet you very briefly in the pub afterwards?
Yes, that's how we got it.
Yes. I thought I had, but I'd have to check myself on these things. And I was watching it again the other day. Really, really well done on that. It's a beautiful atmospheric piece, and what I really like about it is the fact that it is very naturalistic. And you really identify with the central character who's just put into this weird place. So thank you very much indeed for joining me. Now, you mentioned that you joined this project slightly later. So Bertrand, whose idea was it to do Zigote?
So originally, it's an idea that kind of popped up like 5 years ago around beer, and we weren't even there at the moment. We didn't even know the people we are going to work with, the Squid Lab, Herman and Deprez. And it was just like, oh, let's make a movie about a giant goat who is going to kill everyone. And you know, normally the idea just fades away the next morning, but it's there in their minds. And then when we met, all 4, they just talked about us. They talked it. They talked about it, and then it became a project, and came aboard.
But the idea was, I met them after a film shoot. You know, I didn't. We met each other at the Beef Festival too, and we were always saying just hi and move on. But this time we had to work on a short film together. I was doing the making of. That was when I was in post-production for An Eldritch Place. I was doing a making of for other people to meet new people. And so that's where I met Bertrand and the Squid Lab, who are doing the special effects. And yes, after that we hang around to watch B movies, like a lot. Like I think right now we are like 300.
Yeah, we're watching like it's once or twice every week. We are looking at two B movies, like the most terrible movies we can find. We just look at them and we just laugh at them, and because it's so funny. And sometimes we look at classics as well to inspire us for Zygotes. But we are basically living together. We're like family right now, and
it's a commune of 4 people, and we are getting a soccer collocation. Yeah. But the thing is that they have their workshop, their lab, where they're doing a lot of weird creatures and all. And after a few movies we watched together, they told me about their project, you know, about a mutant goat. And I was like, oh, it sounds fun. And they showed me a little figure, the concept design, and it was still the first one, but I was like, yes, that's a perfect creature for a B movie, and since then it evolved. And,
yeah, we wanted to make a B movie for fun at the beginning, but then we were like, this could be an opportunity, you know, to show the talent of everyone, and all 4 we have very different skills. So I'm acting, but I'm not going to be acting in Zygote. I'm going to co-direct with Julien. Daphne is also doing makeup. She's doing clothing, costumes, and stuff like that. And she has a lot of talent. And one can sculpt as well. So he's designing the Zygote, and they're working right now on a zombie movie that's going to be shot in Belgium.
That's a feature film.
A feature film, yeah.
A Flemish production in Belgium, so they are very busy on that right now. We managed to have some time for Zygote and for the crowdfunding, so everything works out.
Yeah.
So who's written the script for Zygote?
Well, right now we are doing a lot of brainstorming sessions to write the feature film. But we are all working together, the 4 of us, to get the perfect feature film story. But at some point, when we are doing the brainstorming, we figured out we needed a trailer. But the problem with a trailer is that you don't want to do a bombastic trailer because you have money to make all the money shot and all. So we decided to make one standalone story. And so one day I proposed something, I wrote something quickly, and everyone in the team could put their
ideas into it. But basically, Julien wrote the teaser, so First Bleat, but we are brainstorming all 4 on the long, and we are making the treatment of the movie as both. But it's another story. It's going to be in the future. But for First Bleat, Julien made the story, and then we just worked on it all 4.
Okay, so I think that's worth emphasizing. So the idea of doing this short film is not just do a short film and put it out in the same way that you did Eldritch Place, although you may be, I don't know, are you planning on a feature film for Eldritch Place, Julien?
But I'm writing a feature film. I'm 60 pages in for the follow-up, but it's not a sequel. It's in the same universe, still Lovecraftian, but I will do that at the same time with Zygote, I think.
Not at the same time exactly, but
I'm writing. I'm co-writing the feature film. I'm writing on when I have some time my own feature. So
right.
After, I'm hoping that First Bleat will be the last short film that I do, because next Zygote is the feature film.
Actually, it's not really a short film of itself. It's going to be more like a teaser, or introducing the goat and showing the atmosphere and telling a story of a hunt. Actually, it's kind of a hunt to just say something about the story, but it's not going to be something that is going to be fulfilling at the end. It's going to be really teasing. People are going to,
right.
We want people to want to see more of the goats, and to wonder what's going to happen to the characters and everything. We are going to try to really just not close the movie, but just tease people with it, and that's the concept.
I think it's like the tip of the iceberg.
Tip of the iceberg. Or it's kind of like a pitch movie. Yeah.
And it's not especially like a pitch, because we didn't want as well that the movie would happen before or during the long feature film, you know, or afterwards. And we were discussing about it, and we just want that episode to be, we wanted to call it the prologue before, but it means it would happen before. But actually it doesn't really happen before. We are just introducing the goat and the universe and the atmosphere and everything. And so we call it First Bleat, because we wanted to have the impression that we are just introducing the goat.
Right. And people can, there's a link in the YouTube that people are watching. They can scroll down. And how do I pronounce the name of the, is it Ulul?
It's Ulul.
Ulul. It's a pun on the sound an owl makes, you know, so it's like you have to make a sound to get noticed. And,
yeah. Okay. It's a fundraising platform similar to Indiegogo or Kickstarter, but it's more European focused. But though you can contribute anywhere in the world, is that right? Anybody?
Yeah.
America?
Yeah, we have you know, you can pay with PayPal, and it's really easy. You know?
Yeah. No, it's just, I love the idea of a mutant goat. It just makes me smile every time I think about it. And you said it's going to be a big goat. How tall do you envisage the goat being?
So it's someone in a costume, so it's at least 2 meters. So it's very tall. And we have our own Duke Jones, like, you know, Guillermo del Toro has Duke Jones, and here we have Simon, who will be inside a full costume.
It's going to be around 2 meters and 40, something like that.
But we'll have to cheat a little bit, because with the budget, we have to figure out something to make the best costume we can have.
Yeah.
The thing is that the comedian, we have kind of a trick. We found extensions, you know, for the legs.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like, you know, inverted legs like this, because of course, you know, it's a standing up goat. It's not a goat that's gonna like normal goat is going to be standing like tall goats, like a mix between a human and a goat.
A little bit like Baphomet.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, like Baphomet. Okay.
So there are the legs, and there are the men in the costume, and also the head and the horns and everything. So it adds up to something like 2 meters and 40 centimeters, something like that. Yeah. We don't exactly know, because we have to build. We have to.
This is why you're raising money.
But it's going to be around that. Yeah.
It sounds so fun. It really, and is obviously you said you guys. This is you and the guys from Squid Lab, and you mentioned a film festival. This is Berlin. Brussels.
Yeah.
International Film Festival.
Yeah, Fantastic Film Festival, and that's it.
Yeah, Fantastic Film. BIF, and that's why. So. I'm losing the question now, but basically you met and you watched an awful lot of B movies. Is this, as I say, this is a mutant goat? Is this a comedy horror, or is this horror, or how would you style it?
I think it's full-on horror, because what I like is that every time we pitch it to someone, we say, "Oh, it's a movie about a mutant goat," and of course the first reaction is to laugh. When they will see the movie, they won't laugh anymore.
We hope. Yeah, it's basically it's a hunt. It's a chase. It's humans chased by the creature. You know,
right?
So it might be funny sometimes, but it's not the purpose. We don't want to make a parody or something like that.
Right. Okay, that's very interesting. I think one of the, and we're going to talk about The Ritual later on, one of Bertrand's choices, which I was watching earlier on. And I have to say, personally, I didn't like the movie The Ritual, because I just didn't find the characters attractive. You know, they're middle-aged men having a, going through a, but there's very little humor. I like, you want some humor to make your characters likable
and vulnerable, and
yeah.
You watching someone who is not the superhero or something like that. But we can talk a bit about the ritual. It's a movie that inspired us because we watched it. I watched it with the Squids, and Julien watched it before, and we were already preparing Zigote and everything, and we were trying to find inspiration. And I think that I chose the ritual because there is something with the image that we want to find for Zigote. It's like the atmosphere with the kind of gray, smoky, it's not that is going to be filmed in 8 millimeters, like old camera, but there is like a grain or something that gives a really good atmosphere, but it's in a modern way of filming it. So we don't want to go back to the 80s because there are a lot of movies going back to the 80s. Spielberg just did it with his movie right now. And there are, Stranger Things and all that. But with the group, we said, okay, we don't want to go back to the 80s especially. We want to, and not reboot or anything, but just go with the modern techniques. And we are going to film with
the black magic pocket.
Black magic. So
okay.
Giving a very, very good image with light and smoke and just darkness and the set and everything. Just try to give the atmosphere they had in Ritual. We really liked, and the creature also is very interesting in the Ritual. I think a lot of people didn't like it, but it's so mysterious. You just don't know what it is.
But the thing with the Ritual creature is that it's full CGI, and our creature is full practical. So it's still, I think it's better for the actors to work with something more tangible that's right there in front of them, and for the shots and everything, it's better to have something real on set, and that brings their own restriction. But I think that's with restriction that you can be more creative, and so that will be the idea. And in Ritual, I think it's more of the during the daytime, there is this foggy atmosphere and everything. But at night, it will be more expressionistic, like Razorback. Or
during the night, there are a lot of signs. When you make a movie, you see a lot of signs in a lot of movies. You're like, oh wow, we see a lot of goats now everywhere. But during the night, when I was watching the Ritual, it was rainy. It was a bit with a flashlight and things in the trees, and I was thinking it could be awesome that the creature was already in the shot, and then it moves very, and you didn't see the creature, and then like 20 minutes after they did it in the movie, and I was like, Jesus, and you imagine it, and they do it, and it works so well. And it's the trees, it's gray, it's atmospheric, and it's raining, and it's dark, and it's already you didn't see the creature, but you are already creeped by the atmosphere, and we are probably going to make a creature that is not going to be 100%. I'm not going to say seeable because it's going to be finished, but we don't want to show the whole creature full nudity with the light on. We want to be the creature must be a part of the atmosphere. That's why.
And it's also a part of the environment, with the trees. And yes, it's a very predator-like goat. Actually, very. I think it's a bit daring, it's a bit insane, but I think it will work out.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Okay, we've just got a question in from one of our watchers, Kim. Hi, Kim. Thank you for joining us. Bertrand and Julien, will we be able to see your short film in the States? Is the first question. So when it's done, will it go online, or what's the eventual idea?
I think we will send it to festivals first, but we have still to decide on limited time for festivals, because one of the frustrating things for festivals that you get your movie locked for like 2 years, and we want to try a festival for networking and for but at some point it has to be visible, and so that's why we still have to decide how long. I think to be 1 year or something. We still have to decide on that. But the thing is, once it's done, I think the shooting, it's like 6 days, and sound editing and all the post-production will take a month or 2, and then we'll send it to festivals, and then it will be online for everyone to see.
Originally, we wanted to be online directly because we wanted that teaser to go hunting productions for the long. But then we decided it was a bit, you know, we make a lot of promotion in the BIF and everything, and we want people also to have the exclusivity of the film, you know, and to enjoy the surprise of waiting. You know, a little bit of waiting isn't wrong when you are doing a campaign to make a long movie. And but Julien has a lot of contacts. Normally, he was with An Eldritch Place in the US and everything. So the movie should go there as well a little bit.
Yes, yeah. And the composer is called Timothy Fife, and he's from Boston. And actually, that's one of the good things about the festival is that An Eldritch Place was screened at the Boston Underground, and after that, I received a message from Timothy, who is a composer, and told me, "Oh yes, I would love to work with you on your next project." And I said, "Oh yes, that's the perfect opportunity. Everything fits together. You know, the short film coming, and so yes, after once the short film is done, it will be available in the States."
And so Timothy is going to make the whole music for the whole movie. So it's going to work.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
We are thrilled. Thank you.
It's vinyl.
Yes. Oddly enough, and I've just, for some reason which I don't quite understand, I'm getting an echo. I'm going to ask Craig, is the echo coming over the broadcast? He'll let me know. And it seems to have disappeared. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. That's all right. Every so often I get a weird echo, and I just want to make sure it wasn't interfering with the... It's okay. It's all done. And the second half of Kim's question was, funnily enough, you just put, I see a DVD or poster of The Descent in the background. Did that film inspire you in any way? And I'm laughing, Kim, because I know that's one on the list. So this was Julien's choice.
Purpose, you know?
Yeah, we spent 2 hours putting everything together.
I think The Descent is probably the most visible poster. So, Julien, this is one of your choices, The Descent. What is it you're hoping to lift from The Descent?
What I love about The Descent is the primal thing about the story is that it's survival. It's all about survival, and everything is when you, I don't know if you remember the scene when she has to hide in the sea of blood and she has to almost become an animal to survive. Well, we are not going all there for the short film because it's still a short film, but I love the treatment of colors and the fact that it's all taking place in a cave, so it could be boring, but they found the best trick to light the different parts of the cave. One is red, one is more yellowish, and so for Zigote, you know, even though it will take place in a forest, there is a lot of other environment that we can use for the story, for the
right. Yeah, and I think that's interesting. That was the other question I wanted to make clear. So the idea is that the short film, incidentally, we keep on talking about a short film. How long do you think the short film will be? What are you aiming for?
It's going to be
10 minutes.
Normally 9, 10, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But in festivals as well, it's the best format
And the
is 9
shorter it
minutes.
is, the better.
Yeah, but we also want to show, you know, that there is like something like 3 acts, 3 sets, if you want, and that's what Julien said before. It's going to be kind of different. It's not only a forest, because it could be boring, but there are some things in the forest, and you can hide in them, and you can you know, play with them, and we are going to try to put into the 9 minutes enough action and enough differences, so people are not getting bored, and we just keep teasing, you know.
And an evolution in the atmosphere, and you know,
yeah, that's very important. The evolution. What we want is really do something like this, you know, like in the beginning it's pretty calm, and then you see something, you hear something, and then it's probably nothing, but it's really something, and then you try to run, but you cannot escape, and we really try to build up the atmosphere so that it's, you cannot breathe anymore, because sometimes you can, but it's again more action, more something, and just hunting the viewer as well, you know.
But for instance, in the Descent, the movie starts, the set starts to get really creeping on the characters, and it's not only about the monsters, but it's also the environment that becomes the more and more you feel trapped, and that I think that's what you are going to aim for, some to feel really trapped after the 10 minutes. Like you cannot escape.
Very claustrophobic. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. What do you think? Actually, I've got 2 questions I must remember to ask, so I'm going to ask the other one because I don't have it written down. So we've mentioned Squid Lab. Who wasn't the names of the 2 people in Squid Lab again?
Owen and Daphne.
Owen and Daphne.
Owen and Daphne.
Okay, and you've mentioned your composer.
Okay.
Is there anybody else already a part of the team who's working on the project?
Well, there is, as Julien said before, Simon Damam, who's going to be inside the creature.
Yes.
Doing the creature. And there is, you know, there is a very good friend of mine whose name is Hugues Hausman, who's going to play the father of the girl, and the girl is going to be played by Océane Weyer, who is a very good actress. We made a casting, and she was really bluffing. And it's the daughter of a friend, so it's keeping things in the family or something like that. But she's perfect for the role, and we are going to be something like 12 on the set, because we have someone for sound, the actors, and then
for the catering. But you know, it's very it's very guerrilla style of filmmaking too. You know, so we are. It's a very small crew, you know, for a short film, and
people are taking different roles as well. So, for example, we are co-directing, but Julien is going to take care of, you know, a little bit more of the lights and the frame and everything, and I'm going to take more of the coaching of the actors and keeping the set together, you know, like, and we are going to take at least 2 roles because we want to keep it to ourselves right now, and then we will go bigger, I guess. But we just want to do it by ourselves for now, and we know we can do it.
Yeah.
Which we also did some location scouting beforehand, so we kind of tested each other, and it works out. And I'm glad I can be more focused on one part of the directing part, the cinematography, because I know that I'm more a visual guy, you know, and before going to the next projects, I want to make sure that I have at least one short film where I can really experiment a little bit more on the visual side, and then after that.
Are you going to be doing the editing?
We will do the editing with Daphne from Squid Lab.
Okay.
But yes, I usually don't edit the project I make, because I want to have a fresh eye on it. I don't know, but if you've been working on the set, and if you have seen the dailies, when you start to edit, it's a trap, because you either know exactly what you want to do and then you don't dare anything else. So you're putting everything together exactly like you want it. But if you share the vision with another person, you can have other opinions, and that's why for An Eldritch Place, I didn't touch the editing at all, just for the visual effect. But it's good to have a different point of view on things.
Yeah. I think it's very true. It you know, the advice of Walter Murch in his book A Blink of the Eye, you know, he says the best thing for a director to do immediately after finishing a film is, you know, the shoot of a film is to go on holiday, hand it over to the editor, let them do a rough assembly, and then the film director he's had a chance to forget all the emotion, and the strain and the stress of actually shooting a film. Get that out of his system, and then just come back with a fresh pair of eyes and see what somebody else. Yeah, I think it's very, very sound advice. Very, very good advice. Okay, so we talked about that. So, okay, so let's go back to, I think we'll go to the earliest of your choices, if we may, in terms of films, and that's The Most Dangerous Game from 1932. And Julien, this is your choice. It was really lovely to see a black and white movie on the list of choices. Why did you choose that one?
But it's kind of a long story, because when I was younger, my parents used to take me at the Museum of Cinema, we call it. It's they play all movies, and so I love the old packet, like Nosferatu, King Kong, the old expressionist movie. But it's been a very long time I've seen The Most Dangerous Game, but I have some visuals, some pictures that have stayed in my mind, you know, the forest, the danger. And, for this one, I chose this one because I've been working, brainstorming on the feature film with Bertrand, and it's one of the influences that I want to put through the feature film. So it is Most Dangerous Game concerns more of the feature film story, but there are all the elements, you know, the hunt, the dangers of nature, you know, something, and also something very primal. And I was impressed at the time, you know, in the 30s, that it was, I think we can see a lot of influence in movies today from this one, you know, Deliverance, Battle Royale. I don't know, I think we can, it's one of these earlier movies that you can see the whole, you can see where it started, you know, it started with this one.
It's absolutely fascinating. I must have seen it probably in the late 1960s on television, and it'll have been late at night, or possibly early 1970s. And I watched it again the other day. And it's interesting, guys, you can, just anyone who says, okay, I want to go out and watch The Most Dangerous Game, it is available on YouTube. Make sure you get the longer version. There are two versions of it. There is a kind of a 60-minute version of it online, and then there's about 72 80-minute version. And basically what they do is they cut out the beginning of the movie. It's very interesting to see where they've made the cut, but I prefer, and I remember this because it starts with a lot of exposition, and it starts with, and again, spoiler alert, folks, the idea is that you have got an island where a boat is shipwrecked, and you have somebody on the island who hunts the most dangerous game, which is man. And so you've got people being hunted in the forest by somebody for whatever reason. I agree with you. You mentioned that there's a great thing where they push the camera through the foliage of the jungle. And you've got this idea that you're trying to escape somebody, but you can't see where you're going. Mostly when you've got in forests, in haunted houses, you can see a corridor, you can see between the trees. But when you're in the thick of a jungle, you've literally just got, so you've got the peril behind you, but you've also don't, and you're trying to run from it, but you don't know where you're running to. I think it's a really, really effective shot. Yeah, I'm so glad you chose that one, because I thought, oh yeah, I've not seen that one in decades.
You are guided by the jungle. Actually, don't know where you are going, because it's like the jungle has its own persona. It's just leading you there.
Yeah, you
just don't know.
You have to follow the spirit of the jungle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But also, you've got some classic things where, you know, you suddenly find there's a dip, or, you know, and again, it's that thing of, you know, the moments where they try and get their pursuer and it doesn't work, and every time you think, oh, they're going to be safe now, no, it's kind of relentless, and it just builds up.
I wrote
yeah
you know,
it's really good. Okay, now the next choice in working chronologically is 1979, and this was from Bertrand, and this is Alien.
Yeah, of course, it's one of the biggest classics of the genre, and I took that movie because chose that movie because there is a very strong character, woman, Sigourney Weaver, of course, who is very she is very she's strong, and she can do everything, and she can manage the situation. And Oceane is going to be a character kind of like that, because she has to manage her father, and she has to do the hunting for food, and she has to manage the whole place, and she has to be very strong because the father is a bit depressed and everything. And so it's going to be, okay, a very strong female character. And as well, the thing with Alien, you know, when you were in the 70s, you didn't have so much money to make a big creature and a lot of effects and a lot of things. And you had to imagine, as Julien said before, you had to be creative, and just to have the viewer with you, and just be frightened by the creature and everything. And you have to find a lot of ways to scare people, just to scare them. And so you have that famous scene with the scanner, and you don't know where the creature is, and is it that way? Is it that way? You don't know, and it's that works because you don't see the creature.
And the structure of the movie is really. I think the beginning is the most impressive, you know, and then they find the derelict ship, you know, and that's also what I was talking about, is the fact that in the opening there are a lot of wide shot, and the more you get through the movie, the more the environment gets closer and closer. And she's stuck at the end. Spoiler alert, she's stuck with the alien, but the alien is almost part of the environment of the ship. And it's also a little bit like the ritual where the goat is a part of the forest, and in Alien, the alien is a part of, you know, the ship with the smoke, and yes, she doesn't see it at first. It moves out of the way, and
because I especially chose the first one, because in the second one, you know, with Cameron and everything, you saw a lot more aliens and eggs, and I definitely love it, but it's going to be more like the first one for First Bleat, because you don't see the creature at first, and then you see a little bit of the creature, and then a little bit more. But even though you see the creature, you don't entirely see it just full nude with a light on it and everything. We really want to tease people, and we want to create that atmosphere where there is danger, and there is a creature and you don't know where it is. And it's basically, yeah, a strong female character against a creature that is just threatening.
A relentless and vicious.
Yeah, and trying to be subtle with the creature showing and everything.
And it's also, what I really like about it is the fact that you are talking about a parental child, and more, as interestingly, a father-daughter relationship as well.
Yeah.
That was one of the other influences that I didn't put there, but The Road. I think The Road is a very good example of this, desperation time, because it takes place in the future. You know, it's basically a post-apocalyptic movie, and people have to survive, and it's already hard enough, but then there is something more. The goat and
Sorry, which movie is that?
The Road.
Oh, The Road. I don't know that one.
It's very bleak. It's very bleak. It's very depressing,
but it's really it's a good example, because as well it's post-apocalyptic if you want, but it's not going to be at least for First Bleat, First Bleat, it's not going to be like orange with a lot of smoke and carcasses. There are going to be some things that you can suppose that it's later in the future and that there's a lot of despair. You have to hunt to get some food and everything, but it's not going to be full post-apocalyptic with a lot of.
It's not Fury Road, but
right.
It's on a smaller scale. It's a smaller scale. Budget it's 6,000.
But it's not only about the budget. It means in the road, it's in the future, but you don't see laser robots. It's the same world. It's just some cannibals and some, and it's just the atmosphere is not going to be completely changed because it's in the future. It's still trees and and fire, but people are just like. But the set is going to be pretty interesting because we are going to shoot in France, and we have a very interesting set. It's a bit. We could say that it looks like The Walking Dead a little bit sometimes. There are a lot of old things, and we don't have to do much for the set actually because there are a lot of old cars with a lot of dust in it, and a lot of broken stuff everywhere.
There is a barn.
A huge barn.
And in the test footage that we got, we could do Walking Dead credit titles. It's very. Everything is there, and now we have a lot of choices. And the advantage when you have when you shoot on location and that you have a very wide array of different places is that you can really build your own universe, your own atmosphere, and I think it will look great.
And you can check as well the test footage is on the Hulu page. If you click on the link and you scroll down, you should be able to see it's 2 minutes, 2 minutes 30, something like that. And it's not something that we shot to be serious. We just shot with the camera, and it looks pretty good already without any lights or any actors or creature or whatever. But it's with a little bit of music, it already gives something. So we were pretty.
It looks gorgeous. The test footage looks really, really effective.
Just a test, but it's okay.
Another question from Kim. Thank you, Kim. Bertrand and Julien, who would you say is your biggest influence in directing? So any particular director?
I think I'm going to go with the obvious choice would be John Carpenter, but I think I learned more from Werner Herzog.
Werner Herzog.
That director to me is very impressive because what he could do with Klaus Kinski, Fitzcarraldo, and for Zygote First Bleat, we are shooting in the countryside, in the nature. So it will be. I think it will be harsh, not as harsh as the movies of Werner Herzog.
Fitzcarraldo, yeah, no, you don't want to take a boat over a mountain.
But yes, it's the first time I'm doing a movie in outside shots, and usually it's all inside, inside buildings, and here we are really into the nature, in the countryside, and we shoot at night. So it will be a little bit harder than my previous movies.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot harder if you're shooting outside at night, because sure as eggs is eggs, it's going to rain. Friends of mine just finished doing their shoot in northern Italy, and every time they were, they were supposed to be on location, it just rained.
Maybe I wanted to say Ridley Scott, but I cannot since Covenant. I cannot give that anymore because we were really Covenant. We didn't. It, and
it was appalling.
It was we didn't like it, and it made Prometheus look like a very good movie actually after that one. But the first one he made was so good. I could say Ridley Scott, or Del Toro for the creatures and everything. But I wanted to especially make the comment of when you asked us to choose 3 movies, I was like, Jesus, what am I going to choose? Like there was an influence before Zygote, and then we looked at the movies and we said, oh, we are going to make a movie like this. And that's not the point. It's just Erwan and Daphne talked about Zygote, and I was, yeah, right on, let's do it. And Zygote is Zygote for me. I like to create something of its own and not try to make like someone else. And
yeah,
you understand, it's so I chose the three movies because there was a link, and I could explain something and do this interview with you.
yeah.
But I like to think that we are trying to create something that is really genuine and really, primal and just of our own.
But it's also a challenge, to do. That's what I like too, is the fact that we are choosing a mutant goat, and we are doing something of its own with this crazy concept, And
Yes, no, I think it's a very valid point, Bertrand. Thank you for highlighting that, because when I ask people for their influences, I think it helps people understand what it is you're trying to do.
Of course,
do that. But obviously, yes, it's obviously going to be utterly unique. I think whenever we try to make art, because there is so much art out there, and you said yourselves, you watched over 300 movies. You can't watch 300 movies and not be influenced,
of course,
by it. But the thing is, when you, and I think I may have mentioned this on the show a couple of years ago, when you do something because you are you, it is going to be absolutely unique. It doesn't matter. One of the exercises, I remember when I was in drama school, a long time ago. One of the exercises we did, and there were about 20 of us in the class, and we were split into two. So we had two couples, male and female, and we were given the same 3 pages of a play to do. And he said, okay, go away, rehearse it, do it. And then we came in and we thought, well, why are we all doing the same thing? This is going to be boring. It's going to be really hard to watch. And I just sat there amazed, because they were exactly the same lines. But it was 10 different plays that I looked at. And this was without props or anything. So whenever you do something new, as long as you're bringing your own heart and imagination to something, it's going to be utterly, it is going to be yours. But yeah, thank you, Bertrand. That's a very, very good, there's
example. I know it's, you have acted before, and you probably know that exercise of the text, and you have to play it, and you don't know what it's about, and you have one text is completely sad, and the other one is completely joyful, and you don't. It's just, there is something in you that you go for, and then you take the decision, and then you just build up on that. And
and it's fascinating, and I think this is one of the strengths of Shakespeare. Whenever I go to see a Shakespeare, I want to see a new Shakespeare, because it's it's the same story, it's the same resonances, but it's just completely and utterly different, and it'll bring something new. There's a very good point. But we'll move on to Julien's one of Julien's last choice, and that's Razorback. Now, I'd not seen that. I watched it especially for this show. It's an amazing film, and it's Russell Mulcahy is the director who went on to do Highlander. Yeah. Why did you choose Razorback? When did you first see Razorback?
I saw it a very long time ago, and it was one of those movies that made me realize that, yes, genre movies are fun, but can be also very aesthetic, very visually pleasing, like Suspiria and those kind of movies. But Razorback, what I really love about this one is the fact that everything feels like a danger. The environment is very menacing, and even though it's just the outback, even though there is nothing very scary about it, but the way the camera moves in, the colors, they took some risks, with the aesthetic choices. They could do something very usual, like many movies we saw at that time, but no, they decided to have their own style, maybe over substance, but they have their own style. And now when you hear about Razorback, you can see the landscape, you can see my favorite part is suddenly there is a dream sequence that is very like Terry Gilliam movie, you know, with a skeleton, and suddenly you're brought. It's a kind of universe you're brought in, and there is no going back. You go there, and then when the movie is over, well, it was a nice experience, and you have to see other movies. But that was Razorback. They try to mimic the style, but it will always be its unique film, you know.
And it's very, very funny as well.
That's
the characters are very funny.
But also terrifying. I mean, funnily enough, the one film it does remind me of is Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, which is this whole idea of you take city people and you dump them in the middle of the outback.
Yeah.
And apart from the environment, it's the other fuckers you need to worry about. You know, it's the people you meet on the journey who are going to be the real, the real threat, because it is great. Some wonderful performances in Razorback as well.
But in Razorback, it also looks like a post-apocalyptic movie. You know, it's very. I love it, but only for the style over substance. But the creature is it's very fun too. You know, the giant boar. You know, it's also absurd. You know, that a boar would be that menacing, but it works.
Yeah. No, it's a really good movie. It really, I heard about it. I remember it coming out, but I'd never seen it before. I really did. And as you say, that the dream sequence arranged, which incidentally, of course, there's a similar thing in the Ritual.
Yeah.
You also have dream sequences, right? I prefer in the in Razorback. It's very much that idea, you know. It's something that is engendered by the fact that you're out, you know, you're lost in the middle, or partly lost in the middle, and it really helps convey that sense of isolation and where the hell do I go from? And that's kind of the interesting thing to me. If you contrast, funnily enough, the Ritual and Razorback, is that you've got these menacing environments, one which is terribly, terribly close. In the Ritual, the forest, you can't see what's going on, and then you just have these vast expanses. In Razorback of the Australian outback. Yeah, really interesting movie. And so the last choice is Bertrand, and that's The Thing.
Yeah, The Thing. I saw it only once, actually, but I was really impressed with it because it's a lot of very, very good special effects. And so for the little story, apparently it was Rob Bottin that had to do the effects and to do them at first. And then there was another makeup artist that had to do them, but he had a car accident or something, and then Rob Bottin had to be called again, and then he accepted, but on the only condition that he could do anything he wanted. And so he had, you know, it was kind of a big production, but he had full freedom over the effects, and it was kind of a lab for him because he tested a lot of new things. He tested a lot of things he couldn't especially test in other movies because the production didn't want him to do that. So it's going very far in the effects. It's kind of gross and it's really, you know, messed up, but that's what it makes the movie working. And so, you know, he was also using mayonnaise and, you know, a lot of things he just, you know, experienced. And he had full control about it, and he could just go crazy on the effects. And that's one thing about Zigo. It's made, the goat is going to be made by the people having the idea. And that's, you know, sometimes you have a production, you have to do like this, and you are not sure you can do like this. And it's, you know, it's a bit stressing, but now we are really free to do the goat we want. And you know, we can take all the decisions. We talk together about the skin of the creature, about the horns of the creature, and it's really, the creation is 100% in the hands of the workshop of Erwan and Daphne, and that's a very good advantage for us because we are not constrained by a production or something like that. That's the first point. And the second point, of course, is you know, the fact of being once again in an environment that is really hostile because it's very cold outside. There are not a lot of character. They have to work together. There is a confrontation with the creature at a certain point, and it's danger, danger, danger. It's very stressful because you know there is something, but you don't exactly know what it is. Yeah. And once again, it's a part of the mystery. You know, we want people at the beginning of Zygote and maybe until 7 minutes or something like that, to see things, but you don't exactly know what it is. And once again, I think it's, you know, it's like a lot of Asian and especially Japanese movies I saw. When I saw The Ring, for example, I saw the American version first, and I was really shocked about it. I really liked the movie, but I was really peeing in my pants because it's so scary. But then I saw the Japanese version, and you see that they didn't have so much budget, but they had to have ideas so that it would work and scare people. And once again, it's the same debate of, you know, just teasing people, because if you show everything,
but
just
to get back
the creature.
To get back to John Carpenter and the thing, one of the strengths of that director is that he really let total freedom to the special effects, and he put his trust in every department, and it's not a control freak that wants to control everything. So when John Carpenter, the movie The Thing worked because every department could really perfect their craft and could really focus on their department. So
that's very interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I think what the things that I know when Clive made Hellraiser, you know, he surrounded himself with talented people, and you know, and he obviously had a very clear vision of what it is he wanted, but he really just encouraged people to contribute and have their own ideas and come up with stuff, and so on. Yeah, it's fast. I love watching the DVD extras on the thing, where he talks about the dog and the dog walking around. He said he's just the best dog he'd ever worked with, because this dog just went exactly where he wanted it to go. Yeah, even down to the way it looked in a particular room and so on. But yeah, it's an extraordinary film. So so just to reiterate, the project is called Zygote. First Bleat.
First Bleat. Yeah.
Love that. It's a great title. It's really good. And is it all or nothing funding? If you don't reach your target, you get nothing, or do you get?
Yeah, if we don't get anything, if we don't get the whole thing, the whole budget, but you know, I think we are going to make it, you know, because we made a lot of promotion during the BIF, and we have a lot of, you know, when you have still 20 days, as you said before, it's going like this and then like this, and eventually it's going to wake up, you know. But anyways, we already spent like 2,000 euros, something like that, because we bought we bought the legs of the creature and everything.
Yes, so we have the legs. And the lens of the creator and a lens that we needed because we shoot at night, you know. So we need, I needed a better lens. So yes, I think we have.
And we spent also a lot in promotion and everything. But we bought legs, but we just bought, you know, it's a metal or something. We have to, you know, work on them. Erwan and Daphne have to work on them, just make them goatee.
And Simon has to train too, you know,
as well.
It's very difficult to work with those. So.
But whatever happens,
he will train for a long time. But yes, it's all or nothing for the crowdfunding budget. If we don't reach the 6,666, we don't get anything.
Yeah, we are just going to do the movie anyways, whatever happens.
Yeah, but but please, folks, support these guys.
Yeah,
you know, go out. You know, I know they're incredibly grateful. I'd be very grateful because, you know, this is what you're working towards, and I just think it sounds, and particularly after this chat, it sounds extraordinary. It sounds really, really, it sounds good fun and terrifying at the same time. So check out the link in the YouTube video before. We're actually at the end of our hour. Bang on. So before we say goodbye, I'll properly sign off. I just want to remind people that next week I'm going to be chatting with Simon Barnard, who of Bafflegab Productions, who directed the Paul Kane's adaptation of Clive Barker's The Hellbound Heart as an audio play. And I was just looking over some of my messages. It's probably the first time I've ever had a message, "Did you hear yourself scream in the trailer, Nick?" So for those of you who haven't seen the reviews, it's getting massive, really, really good reviews. I think Sci-Fi Bulletin gave it 10 out of 10. It comes out, I think, on the 20th. Actually, I can probably, I won't say the date. It's around about the 20-something or other. It's shortly after next week's show, but you can pre-order it. So yeah, I'm going to be talking to Simon Barnard next week about that. In the meantime, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Nicholas.
It
was really nice talking to you and being a part of the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. All right. Well, thank you, folks. Hopefully see some of you next week when I'm chatting with Simon. In the meantime, do please take care of yourselves. And I'm going to